I thought today I'd have a go at just a tiny bit of a polish up on this one. Thought I might be able to polish it up a bit more. I was sort of running out of time because painting around the houses and that took a long time, so I thought I'll chill out and come back and do a polish up. But I'm going to try not to fiddle about. I'm only going to I'm only going to do what needs doing. Well, I don't need doing outdoing to it. I just think I can make some improvements. So basically what I'm saying is, if that's got one of these in the hand, then don't fiddle. If you've got a violin bow in your hand, then fiddle. Fit as a fiddle. I'm going to say fit as a fiddle. Anyway, right. I think I'm going to try and improve this sky. So, in fact, I've got a bowl in a tub here with just clean water in it, because that water's got some dirty water, but I want some really clean water for this. Let's use this little tub. Let's see what that's like. Right, so try and soften this sky up a little bit. Just got a funny feeling I could probably get this sky just a little bit better than what it is. Right, it looks like I've just put some nice moist water on there. It looks like there's some quite bright cerulean coming in from up there. Like that. That's coming in from up there. That's better, thicker. That sort of comes across and sort of fades out a bit under there. I think that already looks a little bit better. I might pop in a bit of tiny bit of creamish colour on the bottom, get that tiny bit more creaminess around this bottom bit here, a bit more cream in there. That looks nice. Tell you what, while I've got that cream colour on my brush, I'm going to go into this, because that L looks a bit bright to me. So I'm going to go into there, and same with this one. It does just look a little bit bright, so I'll come in, soften that out. That one's okay, so I don't need to touch that one. There we are, so hopefully that paper's still wet, because I'm thinking I might get a bit just a bit of, I might take that a bit more purplish. A bit more of a purplish colour. That's too wet. It's a bit too wet. So if I can get that a bit more purplish, I can probably soften it a little bit and all. That's better. Just wash that again. And then probably come back into that creamish colour again. And just come back in there. straight down into that there, because that's too bright anyway. Straight into there. So, just this bit here. I don't like this bit here. A bit strong, so I'll soften that in a bit. I'm just playing around until I get something that I quite like. A bit more of that reddy brown in there. Purple. And a bit more blue. That's a bit bright, so I'll stick a bit more reddy brown and purple in there. So. Soften that bottom bit in again. That's it. There, that's that sky polished up. I think that looks a lot better. I think what I'm going to do is dry that now before it does out else. Second. It's not like that bit there. I don't really like. Still there. That's better. That's a lot better. Yeah. Just let me get a bit. Most of it of that, I'm just going to dab it in so it looks like a cloudy effect in there. Just for that one last extra bit. That's it. That's too fat, that bit there. There. I'm happy with that now. That's my sky sorted. So yeah, I think that looks a bit more interesting than what it was before. Right, so now I'm going to have a sip of coffee. I'm going to do some more, a bit more darkening, I think, a bit more dulling down some of this green in here, I think. Start a bit. If I walk there into that, that's going to dull it right down. That's it. I'll probably just, I don't know where all my friggin', oh there they are, brushes has gone, there they are. Just going to take that round there like that. This is the brush I was looking for. It disappeared on me. Nice tear little brush, just for little bits like that. Yeah, see how that's pulled that right back, that looks a lot better. Same here, this one, it's a bit too geary, whack a bit of that in. A little bit of yellow into that one and all. That's it. Actually this front one, this can be quite bright. Don't need to worry about this one. Get rid of that little line there. There, that's that. Could do with doing what I've done here now. I've splotted over onto me. That's there. So I'll just try and wipe that back. I thought it'd be better with a stiff brush for that. Where's a stiff brush? Got one somewhere. There it is. Try and take that back to white. In fact, it was a bit too white. That one things I was going to do. Just bring them white, so not quite as white. Same with this one. I think it's a bit too, a little bit too white really, so stick a tiny bit of cerulean or something in there. A bit of cerulean there, a bit of that, stick a bit of that creamy red in. Just because it's a little bit too white. That's better. There, that looks a little bit better now already. Right. Coffee. That's another little dry. See, before, to me, this looks a little bit cartoony. Whereas now, I've dulled that right back. That don't look cartoony now, that looks a natural, realistic green. Before, it looked a bit cartoony. I might try and brighten this up a bit now. But anyway, let's see. I'm going to come into that bit there. This time. Mix a bit of that cream up, that's quite a nice warm colour. Mix a bit of this one. I'll pop a bit in there like that. A little bit there. That's the cream. A little bit of this cerulean blue. Front there. Cross in the back there. That might go a bit green. Tiny bit of this purple. darker. Same up here. I think. That's it. Push a bit of water in that to let it drain out a little bit. There, that's just took that darker and then it's took that shine out that it was too bright. That looks much better to me, I think. Right. Just looking and thinking, you've got plenty of time, you don't need to rush. So what can I do now? That sky's definitely improved. There is actually. I don't know if it's worth trying to do it. There's a little bit of a edge thing across there. Let's have a go, try and pour it in. Probably might be as well actually. Let's see if I've got a soft brush. That might do it. I just want, if I'm going to do this, looks like there's a bit of an edge row in there, so I just want to just soften that top bit so when I put it in it blurs a bit like that. See that? Now it's softening in, and then there's a bit of an edge row here, comes across here like that, sort of blurs in there like that. That's it. Quite dark colours. Becoming a bit more interested in that is. That looks quite strong at that, but it will dry lighter. Everything's going to dry lighter. So I'll have a look at that when it's dried. Right. Build up a bit of this now. Because all that reddish colour's dripped into that, I think it's took that back with it. Because I wanted that to recede more. I want this to come forward. So, I need to find a way now of brightening this back up. I'm going to squeeze that brush out. Maybe when that's dry, there's a little fence in there, and I'll try to remember to put it in. Right, let's have a look what I've got here. Some nice bright yellow. I've got some Chinese white here, maybe a bit of bright yellow, and some Chinese white perhaps, just to make it a really bright yellow. Yeah, that looks nice. And that's just glazing over top. It seems to be brightening it up a bit. I've just dipped into a tiny bit of designer's white gouache at that, because that's a bit less transparent, so that might give me a little bit extra oomph. Seems to be doing the trick, doesn't it? Let's just brighten this up a bit and getting a bit more oomph. Yellows in there. Down into here. I'm quite liking the look of this. So I'm sort of going light on top of dark. What you normally do the other way round. But world's my lobster, I'll do what I want, it might work good with a little glaze over like that. Right, let's have a look at this bit here. I think I'm going to glaze that down into there, like that, in a nice soft way. That's looking pretty good, isn't it? I think. Just mixing with all that white and give me quite a nice colour. Just building up plenty of texture in there, making it look quite nice, I think. Just thinking again. A couple more tricks up my sleeve now. Take this. Right, I'll do another quick dry. Then I've got some tricks up my sleeve. That's worked really well for warming that up and bringing it a bit closer. Now, I'm going to do a little trick now. I can't see this very well, so I'm going to come in with a bit of dark there and fade it up. Because I want it to stay distant, I'll probably go for a sort of dirty colour, I think. I think I might just go for that. Actually, it's going to be quite a warm colour because there's quite a bit of red in it, but it's just taking that brightness out still. So let's see. Shall I just tell you what? I'll just start here, across here. I may as well go fast because faster I go, the less hard edges I'm going to end up with. So I'll just go fast. That's it. And I'll just go straight up into some. Back to there, just all the way up. That's it. More. And softening quickly. If a bit of blue in there might work. Come like down a bit. Try a bit of blue in there. Yeah, I think that's working. It's all trial and error. You can do what you want. If it goes wrong, you can glaze over the top, wash back out a little bit. If you're on good quality paper, you can just wash stuff out what goes a bit wrong most of the time. Well, on this cartridge paper, do too much washing out and prattling about, you will just end up with damaged paper. But in general, you can get away with quite a lot on half decent paper. But I don't need to do much. This is working. It seems to be. I think now just soften that in. And that's done. That's just giving me that line look. Perfect. I'll leave that upside down just to dry like that for a bit. And I'll show you this next trick. It'll be easier to do it right way up, but I'm going to do it upside down. Just while I'm letting that paint drip. Right, this next trick. See this roof here? I'm going to pop in a bit of an highlight in there like that. Just in there. In fact, I'm going to turn it back right way around. I think it'll be easier. Yeah, can you see that little highlight what I've popped in there? Just to make that roof stand out a bit more. And looking at it, let's do the same here. Look, it's virtually disappeared here. Sometimes that looks good, sometimes you want hard and soft edges, so this is up to you if you might want it to disappear a bit. Sometimes it can look quite good that everything don't stand out. I'm going to make it stand out a bit because it's sort of my focal point. So I've done that there like that. I'll take that stronger paint up into that bit there. I'll leave a bit of, it gives me a bit of patterning in that roof and all, like some tiles and stuff. So that's just pulled that out, and a little bit more I think. Just pulled that highlight out there, look. You don't want to go too far down, because on that bit there you want it dark, so that's the dark against light. You always want a nice contrast between your dark and your light. So that's that bit there. Right, now then, let's get a nice dark colour now. Just mix in a bluey black colour. Come in there. And I'm going to darken that bit. And that bit. Same two bits, just go against that light of the chimney. That actually chimney sort of comes down like that. That's it, so that brings out that chimney. And also highlight, makes that top bit look nice. So that, just doing that, do that in some tiny pattern shapes, look. There we are. Let's make that art stand out a bit more. Let's see that corner there, see that corner there a bit better. That's that little trick. Right, I think now I'll add that little fence in there. Just got to make sure that's dry before I do it. That's a little fence in there. That brush. That's just virtually a black colour. Get some brown and a bit of Payne's grey. I'll probably done it for that. Payne's grey burnt umber. I think there's a bit of green leaked in from some mud in my palette, but I'm not too worried. I'm going to start about there like that. And it comes down. I think this fence, looking at it, it looks like it's disappearing down the back of here. Looks like it's going down the back of this hill here. So if I do it like that, it's disappearing of it back of there. And then there is some wooden bits on it. It's that. When I'm looking at it, I wanted to strengthen that bit up there. I'll go quite bright green to do that. Better. Nearly done. I'm just going to re-strengthen up some of these bits. Oh, that's a bit wet really. I'll have some of that glaze. That's like a stipple glaze there. Stipple glaze. You'll not see that much when it dries. I'll brighten that bit up a bit. That'll do. enough for that. Bit more coffee. Now then, it's there's a fat some paint to do Peter and Paul. Just mixing a bit of Payne's Grail, ready for Peter and Paul. So let's stick them in. Peter and Paul, 2 bods. Let's have them flying in this way today. So Peter there, Paul's following him there. Peter and Paul, they're looking for worms. That's dry enough for me. Signature, pop it there. B stands for birthday day. There we are. And that's just polished that up. Just improved it a bit. I think made it look a lot more realistic. That sky looks just an improvement, just a better sky, just more interesting. So that just shows you can go over the sky and make it look nice, and you can do. So I've done basically a full sky and then a full glaze over the top of that sky, and then it's given me a really, really interesting sky. I've glazed over there to dull them right down because they were just too bright, looking a bit cartoony. Paint dripped down onto here and dulled all that. I wanted that to stand out more, so I've then glazed over that with a bit of Chinese white, tiny bit of white couch, and warmed that up with a yellow and brought all that back forward, made it look better. I've put tiny thin glaze of yellow in there to brighten them up, make them look warmer. I've done that little bit in the roof there to make that make that stand out more. That were bright white, looked a bit ridiculous really, so I've dulled both them down, then darkened them even more to make them match in. And again, it's just made it look more realistic. That really bright white, it wasn't realistic, it was too cartoony. And that's about it. It's just polished it up. I spent half an hour just polishing it up, but if you're doing something to sell in a shop or something, you may as well take your time, polish it up and make it look good, but don't try and fiddle. If you're having to fiddle for ages to get it right, a lot of mine was just big brush work, but if you're having to do a lot of fiddling about, just it might be easier just to start again. But to me, I had a good composition there, a nice painting that was 3/4 done, and it just needed that last little quarter to polish it up. So I spent half hour tinkering about, but I've enjoyed it. So it weren't like I were fiddling like I'm on a fiddle violin. Right, I'm gonna get some brekkie. I'll sit there on beach. Wagwa.